Welcome to For the Common Good with Juanita, a show where we inform, inspire, and empower our communities, our businesses, and people just like you. I'm excited about the show today because we are talking about building, protecting, and growing wealth. Now, who doesn't want to hear about that? And we have a perfect guest on the show to talk to us about that today. Valerie Beverley is our guest today. Valerie is a registered representative with Farmers Financial Solutions and has been with Farmers Insurance for over 17 years. Please help me welcome Valerie Beverley to the show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited about having you on the show. Now, I know you have a political science degree from Hampton University, a master's in social work from Norfolk State, and you're currently pursuing a master's in divinity from Virginia Union. But let's talk about insurance. How did you end up in insurance?
I always laugh about it because I always say I fell into it. We were living in Tennessee at the time, and I was a case manager with Vanderbilt University Hospital. And I began talking with a girlfriend of mine about doing case management for an insurance company. And I ended up taking a job at CNA Insurance. They're one of the largest insurers in the world.
Wow.
They actually had all the insurance for Wall Street when 9/11 happened. They have all the insurance for the property and casualty, the life insurance, the group benefits for major corporations. And they are actually the company that writes insurance for insurance companies.
Oh,
yes,
wow.
Yes. So they're the big boys.
Yeah.
So I ended up being a case manager with them on the inside. So when we were moving from Tennessee back to Virginia, I had to think about what I was going to do. And my children were much younger then, and so my husband didn't want me doing a lot of traveling. So I ended up talking to a friend who was an agent, and she said, well, why don't you try this? And I said, well, it's close to home.
Yeah,
and I could try it. And then I didn't really like working for her. So I thought to myself, well, I can do this myself.
And you started your business.
And I started my business, yes. And, literally from scratch. No, a lot of insurance brokers, they will hand them what they call a book of business initially. I received nothing.
So you started at the ground
I started at the ground up. And I am one of I don't know that we have any other agents in Hampton right now besides myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, now, how has being in the insurance industry impacted you personally? Has it,
It has done so much for me personally.
Right.
And to just help me know how to handle business, like managing your own business, dealing with people every day, seeing the problems that they go through. It was mind-boggling for me. And so I wanted to make sure that I had my family affairs in order. And I'm sure everybody has gone through this with family members, or something happens in the family and money is needed, no one has it to help, and it just...
People don't think about those things until an emergency happens, and then they start looking, what do I need to do?
Yes, and who can I borrow from, and this, and so for me personally, it has made me a budget, just like every penny every month. I always look at my numbers. I'm always making sure that, does this fit in the budget? If it can't fit this month, it's got to go another month. And I'm always talking to people about having their affairs, making sure they have a will, making sure that they have a power of attorney, making sure that they have life insurance, because we are not promised tomorrow, and we just have not gotten that point yet. A lot of people just don't see it. They live day to day, and then as soon as something happens, no one knows what to do. So as you can see, we have the great growth of GoFundMe's.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that as you were saying that, because especially with the pandemic, what we've seen is more people doing the GoFundMe's just to pay for funeral expenses, which are not cheap. They're very expensive.
They are very expensive.
And all of these GoFundMe's, and it just, I think the pandemic has shed light on some of the things that, the people are going through.
Yes, absolutely. And people just, the unforeseen circumstances now.
Right.
I know so many people who have lost loved ones and friends, and just, it's so sad.
And some of the situations have been the same. The only difference is that there's a light that's shining on them because of the pandemic, and we're seeing more of those situations.
Yes.
When ordinarily the people are dealing with these day to day anyway. It's just that we don't see it that much.
Right, absolutely. Right. And we're not now with social media.
Yes.
We are hearing
into everything.
Yes,
right?
Between Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, you hear about it, and people are always asking, well, what can I do? And this, what can I do with this situation? And what can I do with that situation? And churches used to be the place that we went to get that assistance. Well, the churches can't help as much either. Yeah. They're dealing with trying to help people with food and rent and just basic necessities. And then, people come for funerals, and it has been really alarming to see what it has done to so many people. I've talked to a lot of pastors, and it's disheartening.
It is. But you said something about the financial plan, that we can use a financial plan at any stage in our life. So I want to talk more about that. Should everyone have a financial plan?
Everyone should have a financial plan.
Okay, you heard that, right? Everyone.
I get a lot of people tell me, I don't have anything, so it doesn't matter. And I says, but you can have something. I said, now if you're talking money, you don't have a lot of money. You don't have to have a lot of money to have a financial plan. My grandmother used to teach those lessons. You don't buy anything you can't pay for. So you can't afford it, you don't buy it. You don't get credit. You didn't do those things, so they weren't in debt. So that taught me a lot right there, And so I always tell people, start with a budget. I started my children. I talk to them all the time, even through college, making sure they had a budget. Even in college, having a budget. Yeah. It makes a difference.
Well, I think if you're young, it's, I have time. I have plenty of time for that.
Yes. A lot of people think that they have time on their hands, which they may or may not. Because as we are seeing now, young people are dying.
Yes.
They are dying at a rate alarming, more than older people. So I know one local pastor, he had said that it was the 16th person under 21 that he had preached at funeral in the last few months, and it's scary.
It's really scary.
It's really scary. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they died to something with COVID, but it could have, a lot of gunshot, a lot of violence we have. And so tomorrow, I always tell people, tomorrow is not promised to you. Please be prepared.
Be prepared. And on that note, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Don't you go anywhere. Welcome back to For the Common Good with Juanita. And we've been talking to Valerie Beverley, who is an owner, an agent with Farmers Insurance. And we're learning more about building, protecting, and growing wealth. And I want to focus Valerie, on the impact that COVID, especially with the pandemic, that it's had on the insurance industry.
Yes.
I'm curious to see what are you seeing?
Well, initially, what we saw was that people couldn't pay their bills. Mm-hmm. They couldn't pay their regular auto or homeowners bills. They just couldn't pay it at the beginning of the pandemic. Everybody lost their jobs and then everything. So what many insurance companies did, and the one that I work for did too, they began to give discounts, start discounting people's insurance. So we gave like 25% off a month for, I forget how many months it was.
Gotcha.
And other companies did 15, some did 20. It was just all variations to try to keep people from losing their benefits. The other thing we did is we actually put a wall up that we would not cancel them, even though they could not pay. So we just kept extending it and letting them pay what they could.
Oh, wow.
So that was something that was instituted corporately, which helped a lot of people out. And then as people began to get back on their feet, they began catching up their bills. The other thing that I saw a lot since the pandemic has started is people have been interested in life insurance.
I wondered about that, where
they
see
have
a
been
surge
interested.
in people.
Yes, because of the fear of them seeing so many of their loved ones or friends or hearing about people dying. It became like an immediate need. Let me get my things in order. And what I explained to people, even if you're doing that part, which is great, something is better than nothing, but you need to start taking steps to get your entire financial plan in order. From your budget to your credit to being able to own a home and build wealth. It's so many things that people just weren't aware of. And there's a lot of programs out there too that help first-time home buyers, that help people get their credit repaired, that don't cost a lot either. So, I've been directing people in that. That's been I always say it's my ministry. It's my ministry.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
You're very passionate about it.
Yes, I am. So when people walk in my door, like I tell them, even if you don't purchase a policy, if I can help you, steer you in the right direction, I know that I've done my part that day.
Wow, that's amazing. And you say, regardless of whether you're single or couple or retired, that life insurance is for everyone. I mean,
it is for everyone.
Why would someone single think that they may not need life insurance?
Because a lot of single people, and I hate to say this, but a lot of people say, well, I don't have any kids, I don't care, just put me in a box, and but they don't realize someone has to bury them.
Yeah, the box is expensive.
It's expensive. So I tell them, so someone is going to be responsible for making sure that if something happens to you, that you're buried, cremated, or whatever. And then whatever affairs, whatever debt you owe, someone has to send death certificates and tell them that you're not here anymore. That is stressful. And when you leave here with nothing, it makes it so hard on the people that love you to take care of your business. It really does. And I always tell people, I can remember my grandmother. My grandmother lived till she was 96. She was one of the best budgeters you would have.
Really?
But we literally planned her funeral about 10 years prior to her death. So we went and we bought we paid for everything up front. And she did it in payments. So everything was taken care of when she died, even down to the limousine.
Oh, wow.
So we didn't have to come out of pocket. She knew what songs she wanted, what flowers, everything that she wanted, what she wanted to wear. And we had a long conversation, and she said, I do not want my children or my grandchildren to have to be worried about paying for my funeral. She said, I have had to put, I think at that time it was 3 of her children. She had to bury 3 of her children. Oh, wow. And she said, I don't want anybody to have that worry on them. Yeah. And I learned that lesson. But once I became my own business owner, it really began to take heed in me. And then I began to understand it was just more than a business. It really is ministry when you dealing with
because you're helping so many people.
Oh my gosh, yes, I do. I actually do bonds also for the probate courts in the area. So, people that die without a will, guess what? You have to go to probate. Even if you're the spouse. If your spouse died without a will, you have to go through probate. And you have to pay the state to get your assets back. Makes no sense.
Wow. So now I want to talk more about life insurance, because is it possible for someone to just go out online or something and purchase life insurance? I mean, because obviously there are different ways that you can do that.
Yes,
So.
you can. But I always tell people it is extremely important to have the conversation. You should have that conversation with somebody in that field about life insurance and the mechanisms and the things that it can do for you. Because life insurance can have living benefits. So I tell people that too. So you can have policies that accrue cash value or interest, and you can borrow from those policies without a tax event. So in essence, if you have a 401k on your job and you borrow from that before age 59 and a half, you have a 30 to 35% tax hit. If you borrow from the same life insurance plan, there's no taxes involved. So you can make the choice to pay yourself back the money that you borrowed from yourself. So in essence, you become your own bank. You don't have to fill out a credit app. You don't have to do any of this. Am I going to get the loan? It's your money. So,
and you have different vehicles that someone can use to do that.
Yes, which is great. I tell people all the time, this is how you build wealth. Because if you need to go buy your own home, guess what? You can borrow from yourself. You don't have to worry about the down payment from somebody else. You can have it yourself.
So what you're saying is you pay this monthly premium.
Yes.
And then as you're paying, you can actually go back into that life insurance, that fund, and borrow money.
Correct.
And then repay it?
Yes.
Okay.
Which is smart. Rather than you paying a bank back, you pay yourself back. I mean,
there are a lot of people that are doing this, and we don't know about it.
Right.
Many
but you
people
should
don't
find
know about
value in yourself.
Yes,
and that's what
absolutely.
I tell people. When something happens to you, if you die, everything, your work, your paycheck, everything that comes along with you is gone. So value you. You are important.
Yes.
You are worthy.
Right.
Yeah.
On that note, you are worthy. Something you definitely need to look into. We're talking about creating wealth and building wealth and protecting your assets. We're going to be right back. Don't you go anywhere. You've been listening to For the Common Good with Juanita. Welcome back to For the Common Good with Juanita. And we've been talking today with Valerie Beverley, and we've been talking about building, protecting, and growing your wealth. And I think a lot of times people don't think about insurance as a means to grow your wealth. And we want to talk a little bit more about that. So Valerie, can you help someone customize a plan? What if someone came to you and they really didn't know what they needed, what they wanted, and they're starting from scratch? Can you help them set that up?
Absolutely, absolutely. So what I always do is I have people do some homework on their own. I have them begin to gather their information, because sometimes we have more than what we even realize. Between your job, you may have life insurance on your job. You may have a 401k on your job that actually also gives you money also back. Yes. So I tell people, gather that information. Some people even do have some life insurance. I say, whatever you have, bring it to me. Let's see what you have already. Let's lay it out on the table. Do you own property? Do you have investments already? Because some people don't even know what they have. They really don't. They just get stuff. Many clients have done that. They have a little pot over here, there, and then they forget that they had it. And I tell them, no, okay, so let's sit down and let's talk about what you have first. And then we'll build from there, and then we'll see what avenues you need to take. And if you didn't have anything set up, then we can tailor a plan specific to your needs.
Wow. Well, that's good, because I think some people might feel a little intimidated that they really don't know where to even start.
Yes.
You know? And so based on their current situation, based on whether, they're married with a family, and I think there's some comfort in knowing that you can help them set all of that up.
Yes. What it is, I have found people are ashamed a lot that they don't have things in place. Yeah. And so I tell people, let's get rid of the shame. We're not going to label anyone. Don't worry about that, because we all have to start somewhere. Just like when you start your first job, you've never done this before. Someone has to teach you or give you some guidance. So that's all we're doing is giving. I try to give people information and education, and then let them make the decision.
Okay. Yeah. Give them all the right tools.
Yes.
That's excellent. Now let's talk about retirement. There are a lot of people who may be in a position of thinking about retirement anyway, retiring within another 5, 10 years, 15 years, or what have you.
Yes.
Now, how can you use insurance or life insurance as a means of retirement? Say, how do you incorporate that in your overall planning for retirement?
Yes. So I tell people, if it's life insurance specifically, if you have expendable income, you can put extra money depending on the type of life policy you buy, whether you buy, they have different types of whole life policies that gain interest. Some gain interest based on the market. Some are actually putting funds into a market, almost like a 401k.
So the stock market. So it sort of mimics the stock market.
Yes, absolutely. Same funds that you would purchase on the market, or you can have those encapsulated within a life insurance policy. So now you have to have a securities license in order to do that. Every agent cannot do that. So I have a securities license, so I'm able to do that. There are some that you don't have to have the securities license to do. Like I said, they may gain interest based on the market, but not are actually invested in the market.
Right.
So like I said, there's some plans that are actually invested in the market, some that are not. The ones that are not, I call them my steady eddies. So you don't have to worry about this, because even if the market fluctuates, you may get 0 interest that quarter, but another quarter you might get about 8 or 9.
Right.
But it always ticks up.
Right.
So it balances out.
So maybe there's a floor that it doesn't crush.
What never goes under. So you have different types of policies that can do that. And what you can do, I can do illustrations for people that will show them, if you start taking money out at this age and you take out this or this percentage amount, this is what you'll have. And then you still have a death benefit, which is perfect. So you can do both. And I think that is the best of both worlds. And listen to this, no tax implications. How about that?
It's excellent.
Now, that is the one there. Now, the one that's not in the market, yes, there's no tax implications. So when you pull your money, you're not being taxed on it.
Right. Fantastic.
Smart.
That is really smart. And I think having these tools and understanding this information is really what is going to help people.
Yes.
So we're not thinking about insurance the way we typically have thought about insurance.
Correct.
Oh, that's just something that I don't really need. And we're thinking about it as a means of growing wealth. And I think that's a different way of looking at it.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, what if someone has life insurance? Is it possible that they could be underinsured?
Yes, I have found many people who are underinsured in different ways. Some people are underinsured with their home, policies, their auto policies. Basically, the liability limits on those policies can literally throw your assets into a frenzy. I've seen it happen. I actually have a pastor who's long time client of mine that his wife had an accident and then she couldn't work, and so it took everything. She's at home, thank God she lived, but she has to have home care, she has to have so many things, so he had to tap into so many assets that he didn't even realize, and then he didn't have enough life insurance. So you also, with life insurance, you can have what you have called critical illness riders that help with home health care and all types of. There are so many
options.
Yes,
there, right?
with bells and whistles that you can have these days. That you can build a great plan for people. So I have seen people who are underinsured. Wow. And I talk to them about that also. I try to do a review with people at least every 6 months to a year. All of my clients, I always offer it to them. And I say, you really need to go over your policies because you need to understand it.
And because their situation may change too.
Correct.
And needs may change, and
Absolutely.
there are different things that they need to consider.
I'm sorry, I get so excited about this because it's so important.
Yeah, it really
and
is.
I know it's a need. And I just tell people, let's have the conversation.
That's where it starts, having the conversation. But I think for people to be more informed, and that's what you're trying to do here, is to trying to educate people. Knowledge is key.
Yes. And I wanted to tell you too, I'm licensed in other states.
Oh,
so yes, you can be licensed in as many states as you want. So I do business outside of this area.
Wow. Well, I tell you, Valerie, this has been really exciting. Thank you so much for being on the show with your wealth of knowledge.
Thank you.
About insurance and just really helping people too.
Yes, that's the thing. That's the key, is because you have a purpose. And when you understand your purpose, you understand that your blessings are not always financial. A lot of us tie blessings to financial. The blessing could just be
comes in many forms.
So I always tell people that as I give, I get back.
Wow. Amen to that.
Yes.
Thank you again for being on the show.
Thank you.
And thank you for tuning in to For the Common Good with Juanita.